Guys, welcome back to another edition of Between Two Planets. We're speaking with Timmy from SPARK IBC today. How are you doing today, Timmy?
I'm doing great. What a nice little surprise that you reached out to me this morning. And I honestly love these because of their format. It's just kind of casual, get to know the people. And so I didn't feel like I needed to do any real prep or anything. I was just like, oh, sweet. Let's do it. Let's have a good chat with Tank.
Awesome, awesome. I'm glad you said that because these videos are exactly that. They're very casual. And the reason why we're doing is we're just trying to kind of let everybody else know on a more intimate, personal level, the people that they hear and see every day working in our space, being the Cosmos ecosystem. Let me actually just jump kind of into it and kind of just bombard you with the questions that everybody's probably dying to know. Timmy, when and how did you first find yourself into the crypto space? How did you journey into the crypto space?
Um,
Has it been that long?
Pretty sure I wanted to use the Silk Road, the original Silk Road
What were
ran
you
by
doing?
DPR. Uh, Nothing great,
Do not
but
incriminate.
nothing too bad
I
either.
was gonna say, do not incriminate yourself on
No,
this.
no, nothing too bad. Honestly, like part of it was a pure curiosity,
Okay.
of just like something that was totally new and obviously pretty sketchy and just like this whole world. God, what did I buy? I bought something really mundane to start with. On like I bought a book of some kind
Okay.
or some manual on the Silk Road for like I think it was like how to hack electronics or something like that. Something like I
Oh gosh,
wasn't
I'm trying
scared
to
I was
drink
gonna
my
get.
coffee and I was about to spit that out while you said it.
No, I think my thought was like, I don't really want to get in trouble for anything, but I do want to try this out. Like, what
Yeah.
if I just get some like literature? um, but so that was like around that time. I think that was like the initial sort of putting it on my radar.
Hmm.
Um, I actually have a hilarious story about my first time buying Bitcoin,
Let's
if
hear
you
it.
want
Let's
to.
hear it. Yeah, that's what the people want to
So
hear.
it was early enough on where there was very few like ways to get into it. I think like Coinbase was maybe this was like in the time of Bitstamp, right after Mount Gox, and like maybe Coinbase had started. I kind of forget, but I wanted to buy Bitcoin with PayPal for some reason. There was
Hmm.
some specific reason. I think I had like money in there, and so I found this site. I didn't even know what it was until like years later when I was telling someone this story and I went back to look at it. But it was called verwox.com and it was like VIRWOX. I think it
Never
stood
heard
for
of
the
it.
Virtual Currency World Exchange. Basically, what I thought I was doing is I was using the USD in my PayPal to buy Sierra Leone Linden dollars or Sierra Leone dollars.
Okay.
I think I just gave away a little bit there for anyone that recognized that. And then those I could trade for Bitcoin. So in a way, with an intermediate step, I could use PayPal to buy Bitcoin. And so I did that. It worked. I lost a shitload on slippage and fees, I'm sure.
I was just
But then,
thinking that. I was going, I wonder what that was
yeah,
like.
but then telling this story years later, I went back and looked at the site, which I think, let's see if it's still a thing. I mean, I know it's not still running, but it might still have like, yeah, Verwox closed. So I found out it was actually a gray market site for Second Life Linden dollars. Do you know the game Second Life?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was somewhere people could take their in-game currency, sell it for Bitcoin, or other people could buy their in-game currency. So I Googled what SLL was,
Oh
and
my
it was like
gosh.
Sierra Leone dollar. But later I realized I was buying Second Life Linden dollars and then selling them for Bitcoin as a way to get into Bitcoin through PayPal.
Oh my
Like,
gosh, that just opens my
so
mind up
weird.
to such a weird like hole that I want to like honestly I want to travel down that because that would, I mean speculation, right? In hindsight's always 2020, but could you imagine being a Second Life player back in the day and earning a buttload of Bitcoin
Yeah.
from, oh my gosh, the things that I missed out in life. I just, when I think in hindsight, I just want to kick myself in the rear sometimes because I was into all of that stuff. I just never thought about it. I just never ever thought about it.
Well, who would have known,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You know, like I said, hindsight's 2020, right? I used to be into like a lot of us who are into space now. Used to be a very big gamer. You know, all the old games. But the one that really sucked me in was Final Fantasy 11, and I remember the whole buying and selling of Gil on through the Chinese markets and all this other stuff was huge. It was massive, right? Like a lot of WoW and other games had. But if I could have somehow thought back then to take my efforts and convert some of that to Bitcoin while I was, because I was making a
Right.
killing back then. I mean, that's that. My whole thing with MMOs was I liked. I'm a farmer. I'm not really like one of those raiders or anything. Like I like collecting like rare things. Kind of, I guess, kind of the same issue I have now, with like investing and buying things and stuff like that.
I like
Like
collecting these tokens.
yeah, like so I like collecting rare ore and then selling it. And admittingly, I used to sell it for guild and stuff like that for real money, but never in a million years would I've thought, oh, I'm going to convert some of this into a some sort of crypto at that time. And at that time, it was probably just Bitcoin and maybe I don't even think ETH was a thing when I was really into it. But in any case, hindsight, right? Hindsight. So that's how you got into crypto. What really had you like? What stuck with you though? Like when was the moment where you went, there's something more to this. I want to dive into this rabbit hole and travel through these tunnels that I'm seeing.
That's a good question. Um,
Was it Link?
I'm
If you
sure
tell
there
me
were
Link, I'm not going to be surprised.
no, I'm sure there were some smaller things prior that made me interested enough to even do this step.
Uh-huh.
But it was actually for my senior year in college. I wrote a paper. I had to write a paper on something. I forget what the actual specific like class um, was even, but and a video. Like I did a video and a paper on something, and I decided to do it on blockchain because it's something I had been kind of dabbling with before and like interested in. I knew it was important to some extent. Um, and so I'm thinking about how much I want to give away here.
No, and don't dox yourself too much
Yeah,
and all that
yeah.
stuff.
Well,
I did
honestly
want to
though, a
go
Timmy, I think
into.
it's I think a Timmy Docs is right around the corner, which is why I'm like, hmm. But anyways, I
Just
wrote a
dude, it's so
paper.
freeing to me. It's so freeing.
I
It
know,
really
yeah.
is.
I'm thinking I'm gonna try and farm a face reveal for some engagement. Like maybe we'll do another one of these videos in the future, and we'll say on Twitter like Timmy face reveal if we get X,
Oh my gosh!
retweets or
Please
something.
let me be the host of the Timmy Face reveal, please.
Okay, okay. Um, shit. What was the question? Or
So what made you?
oh, the moment.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I dove into research for this paper, and I kind of through crafting my like thesis for it and all the research, I really realized that this wasn't comparable to say a new application out there or a new piece of like infrastructure. This was like a a paradigm shift in the world of computing and technology. Like there have been a couple other like major ones in history. I think there's like seven, they call them seven like major computing paradigms, or maybe less than that. I should know this, but there's like the invention of the mainframe, the invention of the personal computer, the invention of the internet, and the invention of the mobile smartphone.
Hmm.
And I think there's one other in there, but things that like fundamentally change the way that we think about and interact with and use technology, just like from the ground up. And somewhere in there, I settled on my like one sentence explanation of why blockchain is incredibly important. And that's that it allows us to finally treat digital things as if they're physical. Obviously, that sentence alone doesn't provide like all the context you need if you're totally new,
Yeah.
but like at its core, that's what's really like fascinating about it. From for all of computing history, whenever you move data around, whether it's an email, a Snapchat, a Venmo payment, like whatever, what's happening is data is being copied, pasted somewhere else, and then in certain cases, like when it seems like you no longer have it, like a Snapchat you send off, it's just the original is getting deleted. But there's a reason that like back in the days of iTunes, if you bought an album or a song or something, you couldn't just send those audio files to your friend. Like
Right.
that was illegal because you were basically copying them. And so
Right.
I had this realization of like, oh, if like Apple and iTunes adopted blockchain, I could totally legally give you an album I bought, because just like a physical one, the same way we're allowed to do that in the physical world with a CD, right?
Mm-hmm,
There's no
mm-hmm.
legal implications. It's because the blockchain proves I no longer have it. I'm not copying the material and distributing it. I am giving it to you as if it's a physical object where I don't have it anymore.
Like the
And
transfer of
like that,
NFTs, correct?
yes, yes.
Yes,
And so
yes.
that little train of thought just kind of slowly grew and grew until I was like, oh, so like blockchain is just going to kind of take over certain sectors or like find its niche. It's not going to like be the new way we compute everything. You know, like Ethereum's not going to ever replace AWS or something like that, but it is
Right.
going to fundamentally change the way we interact with like ownership and digital like custody and transference of any assets, even real world ones that we want represented digitally.
Right. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. And if you can be as honest as you can be with yourself and think in hindsight, of course, from that moment to where we are now, if you can remember that moment and how you felt when you were writing that paper, and you know, because I kind of I agree with you. It's hard for me to pinpoint the exact moment where I was like, where I had that aha kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it was kind of like a slow as I, you know, digested more and more information. I was just getting more and more into it. But if you can kind of remember that frame of time and your expectations of where you thought this might go to where we are right now, are we even halfway? Are we did we meet expectations, or did we fall short, or kind of are we where you thought that we would be right now with blockchain technology?
I'll be honest. I think, like many people, I think my expectations were totally off from the beginning. I'm sure at the very beginning, I
Overshot?
actually
Did,
probably like I'm
okay.
sure at the beginning I did actually think things like, oh, like Ethereum will replace AWS one day, like those
Mm-hmm.
sort of things. It took a while for me to realize like blockchain is really only good for certain things. It's not like the new way we're doing computing across the board. It has its limitations. It has things it's just not good for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think I had expectations of like I don't think I ever thought like BTC was going to become the world reserve currency. I did imagine something like a CBDC really early on, so that's
Mm-hmm.
probably my most accurate, actually like early prediction and thought of where things are going. That's definitely panning out to be true.
Right.
As I've always been slightly more in love with the tech side than the finance side of all of this. Like
Mm-hmm.
my bio on Twitter since day one has been like just a fan of good tech.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I think I definitely had too big of expectations in some regards. Like maybe like I was very sure Bitcoin was not very sure. I was pretty sure Bitcoin was going to hit 100K the cycle after the 20K peak. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was after I'd been in it for a while, and I probably I don't know if I should have known better. I think we're all still sort of in the wild west here, but I will say I think we are like 10% of the way to mass adoption, if that. Like I think we are still in
I've
the
never
early
actually
stages.
even thought about that, like as far as like percent goes, is like or like the bar being loaded, like how far into it do I think we are? I definitely think we're realistically, I think we're like maybe a little more than a decade. I mean, conservatively, I would say 2 decades away from like really seeing this as like mass adoption. I mean, I'm gonna be at my age since I am doxxed and everybody knows how old I am. Look at all these gray hairs. I'll be like pushing 70 by the time I think it's gonna be so mainstream that you know like a lot of us are striving for and hoping for, that we won't even notice that we're using it. It'll just be something that is being used in
Yes,
the back end and stuff like that. But that's interesting.
totally.
I think I don't think I've ever actually. I think yeah, 10%. 10% would
Well,
probably be fair.
here's something like speaking of percents or imagining a loading bar. I think there's
Mm-hmm.
two different ways to look at it in terms of things that need to happen, industries that adopt it, use cases that get picked up, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're only 10% of the way there. But timeline wise, like since Bitcoin started to now, I think we're more like 40-50% of the way there. And what I mean by that is that the rate of adoption is growing really fast. So
Mm-hmm.
like in terms of it actually getting into the hands of big industries, big players, Fortune 500 companies, um, grassroots projects getting big and influential, whatever, that might only be like 10% of the way here after the past, 10, 15 years or whatever. But
Yeah.
I think the next 10% will happen in just like 4 years, and then the next 10% in 2 years,
let me
that sort of
let
thing.
me let me kind of expand on what you're saying here, because it there's always so much doors and past the travel when we're having these kind of open discussions, and I really enjoy this discussion right now. But as far as the discussion of mass adoption, and like we were saying with blockchain technology being used on the back end in the next decade or maybe two, to the point where it's so adopted that you don't even know it's using. Do you consider the adoption of Bitcoin and blockchain technology, excuse me, to be two very separate things? Because I do, in a
Yeah.
way. I really do.
Yep.
Okay.
Bitcoin might fail and go to zero. The technology will continue to be used and innovated on.
Spot on. Yes,
No
it's
FUD for Bitcoin, just separating the two. Yeah.
yes. Because I think a lot of times, um, you know,
But
go
oh,
ahead,
here's
go
what's
ahead.
interesting though. Blockchains aren't new. There were
No.
blockchains long before Bitcoin. They
Mm-hmm.
just weren't public and decentralized. So the question is Bitcoin and Ethereum and all that really an experimentation to see if blockchain makes sense or just if public decentralized ones make sense?
It's a good question. There's a,
Like that's a big, because CBDCs, are we even going to consider them crypto and like blockchains in the sense that we think about? Or is it
I
literally
don't.
just,
Well, I
yeah,
mean, because
it's
like,
just a database at that point
yes,
that
yeah.
one person controls or one entity?
The government or whatever is issuing the
Yeah.
CBDC, like, because of course, like, that's the narrative, and that's kind of how I see things. But I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people, I think, still to this day, lump sum everything all together. Like when they're talking
Yeah.
about blockchain adopt, or like just crypto, the term crypto, right? So
Yeah. Or
easily thrown.
Web3.
Yeah, it's easily thrown out there in the discussions about stuff, but they don't really separate the discussion. They just kind of lump it together, and that's where I think a lot of the confusion and the friction of adoption is being had, that slows that pace, that might actually be found a lot sooner than later if we were actually able. I guess it's our job now to start making sure that those discussions actually do get separated in a sense, so that people can understand it more fully and truly, for the future
Couldn't
to
agree
actually be
more.
adopted. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
that's a good
I think like an
thing to talk about.
interesting way to think about it is decentralized blockchains are our first taste of sovereign decentralized computing,
Hmm.
meaning computing of any kind, even if it's just simple sort of ledger transactions like on Bitcoin or more complex thing on smart contract chains. Computing that it's basically taking the like ethos of torrenting and shifting it from transferring to computing. Like
Hmm.
torrenting, the way it works is a bunch of people all over the world have the file you want. You get a little piece of it from each of them. There's no central server, but it's just for transferring data around.
Right.
Blockchain kind of allows you to take that same ethos, but for computation. And I think the way I like to look at it is that Satoshi noticed that power that it holds
Hmm.
and thought that the single greatest use for it that could pioneer the tech in general and show its significance is a financial one.
So
That leaves open the possibility of blockchains being used for like tons of other things down the road, because all they really are is decentralized computing. Satoshi just happened to realize or think that the best way to showcase this tech and maybe the best possible use for it was to try and like overhaul and make free the financial system of the world.
I
But it
agree.
has a million other use cases. Like I'm sure you've noticed with the stuff I'm building, like so far we haven't really focused on tokenomics, because like I
Hmm.
just don't think that's important. Not everything on blockchain needs to be an investment. We have a
Yes.
chain as a piece of tech that we can use to make stuff better without it having to be anything finance related. Like not Lil Gaines made a fantastic tweet the other day that was like, people need to realize there's more to Web3 than DeFi. It was something along like, we don't just need another DEX, we need
I
innovative.
think it was on the back of I'm not going to say names and whatnot, but it was on the back of another tweet, which I did see that, and I absolutely agree. Absolutely
Yeah.
agree.
Yep. We don't like need another deck. So this is why I am such a big, or was such a big pioneer of getting Angel Protocol over to Juno, and I thought about it as more of a priority than like Loop. Not because I don't like the Loop guys or their product, but because at the end of the day, it's just another Dex.
Well,
Whereas,
shout outs
yeah,
to Angel Protocol. Definitely shout outs
Huge.
to Intro Protocol. Shout outs to Little Gains Cosmos Spaces. If you guys don't know, they're a validator out there in the Cosmos ecosystem. Shout out to Spark IBC. I don't think you guys and Cosmos Spaces do this enough, so I'll do it for you guys whenever I have the chance. They are also, guys, Spark IBC also has some validators. Let me segue real quick. What are you guys validating right now?
Yeah, let me grab the like full list. So our like kind of blue chip chains that we're on are Juno and Evmos, but we are also validating Territory, Passage, Stride, Nomic, which I actually think is a big one. I really have high hopes for Nomic.
I think a lot of people are sleeping on Nomic, but we'll get into
fine
that
by
in a
me.
little bit.
I'll just keep compounding and getting ahead.
Same,
I got
same.
the maximum drop, so I've never been more like motivated to keep compounding.
Man. We could go on and on about Nomic. I've made something massive out of that compounding. But so Nomic, and what else are you guys? Is
Nomic,
anything down the road?
Yeah. So one thing we've noticed with validating is it's very hard to break into existing sets compared to be there from Genesis for new sets. So a lot of stuff that comes out in the future, if we kind of like what we're seeing from them, we'll try and get it on the ground floor. Right now, I'm kind of looking at a couple. I mean, Archway, they have a program. I've spoken with their team. We kind of want to get involved there. I think they're doing some
You
cool
opened
stuff.
the doors for me, Timmy. I got such questions now.
About Archway.
So if you like, okay, yeah, so Archway. Full disclosure, I've been talking with them. I've been wanting to make more content about Archway because I find the premise of what they're working on very interesting. I've thought that for a long time, but now that Juno has come out with their new proposal, do you think that that's going to take a lot away from Archway when they are ready? Because it's been a while. It's been I'm trying to walk on eggshells a little bit because I don't want to FUD either side or sound bias on either side. But with Juno, do you think that that's going to take away or kind of deter things being built or traction being found on Archway when they are ready? Or I guess maybe I should phrase my question a little bit different. What makes Spark IBC want to go validate over there as a business, and then also I guess personally?
Yeah. So I'll actually keep the answer super, Occam's razor.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything from them that sketches me out or that I don't like. So it's worth getting involved with in case they succeed. Like that's the simplest form is I think with validation, all of Web3, you have to embrace the Wild West ethos of like, I don't know if this is going to be good or not, but as long as I don't see massive red flags, I didn't buy that Bitcoin with my Linden dollars back in the day. I'm not going to make that mistake again.
True.
If I have the opportunity, let's get it on the ground floor.
True. And I do want to say, like I said, I'm super interested in Archway. I've been super interested in Archway. So I find what they're doing very interesting.
I think it doesn't have a ton of overlap with Juno. Like if in the position I was in when I wanted to start Spark IBC, before I had any sort of, crypto resume, so to speak, or like foundation, I think I'd still go to Juno. If I was a larger business who had this idea, I had employees, I wanted to really like kind of go the more blue chip route, maybe I would explore Archway.
I love that you said it that way, Timmy. I really, because that's how I feel. I feel like the mom and pop stores would pick Juno, and then the bigger entities would definitely pick Archway. Like I've always thought that. It's so funny that
I think the bigger entities would look at Archway. I don't actually think from what I've seen, they would definitely go with them every time.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yes.
But I also think Juno might evolve into basically like a launchpad chain where projects start as DApps, and if they gain enough traction there, they move to their own chain or maybe more specialized app chains that like fit their purpose better or something. I could see that happening, or for just general purpose community stuff. Like right now, I actually can't think of a chain that makes more sense as the home for Spark IBC, for example.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think a lot of people already know that and I'll be honest, maybe I lean, I know I lean a lot on being bullish on Juno, but that's just me. And I recognize it. I think it's, like you said, the best community oriented, like if you're going to grow a community, whether it's DAOs or whatever it is, I just think the most ideal place to go right now.
Here's another.
Mhm.
I think my favorite topic to explore in Web3 these days is how we are moving away from what made blockchain and crypto interesting to begin with.
Mhm.
The only reason Bitcoin got this hype, the only reason Ethereum, Bitcoin, all these other projects are at the market cap they're at is because of the like revolutionary sort of mindset Bitcoin brought of decentralized, blah, 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 fully. I actually don't understand why like Terra did so well or why Archway might do so well. These things with companies behind them that like it goes back to the point I made earlier of blockchains aren't new. It's only decentralized ones that are. And we are slowly, as we get towards mass adoption, we're moving into this more blue chip phase of Web3 where there are companies behind things, there are patents being issued, there are things like Chainlink that are talking with like
I knew you
Swift,
did.
like massive. Well, no, it's a perfect
No,
example,
no,
right?
I know.
We're going outside of our grassroots community, like digital. I don't know,
Yeah.
and Juno seems to retain a lot of that. Like
Mhm.
I talked to a lot of Terra projects right after the crash, and there were multiple conversations where there was a moment basically akin to like, yeah, could you like put us in touch with the Juno guys, the Juno company? I
Yeah.
was like, what?
Yeah. Who?
There's no, there are no Juno guys, and I was on video call with a couple people, and I saw their face just do this like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this is crypto. Not everyone has a company like TFL behind their chain. In fact, I would argue you maybe shouldn't, because if you do, you're really riding the Web3 hype chain
Mhm.
without actually embracing why that train exists at all.
No, I agree.
Now, that's not to say I'm against entities. I actually used to say, like, I think the way Luna does things makes sense to an extent, and I kind of thought of them as the marketing arm of the Cosmos because they had that actual company and like entity behind them.
I can see. Yeah, I can see
um,
that.
but I kind of think those things will die out eventually, because take even like a CBDC.
Mhm.
i I don't know if we're going to really consider it crypto at all, in the sense like they could do what they're doing with the CBDC with other technology.
Yeah, I don't mean like I said earlier. I don't actually consider it like
Yeah,
you know.
right, because all
I
it
do want to,
really
before it gets too further, I do want to just let the audience know when I was giggling and laughing so hard when, when Timmy brings up Link, it's because Timmy loves Link and so do I. I absolutely love Link, and it was just like in my mind, I'm waiting. When is Timmy
yeah,
gonna say
when's he going to
Link?
drop it?
So,
When's he going to
no, but no. To go back, I just want to kind of like clear that up, guys.
Link is the worst. Link is the worst project in all of crypto for preserving Satoshi's original ethos.
Yeah.
Like I should hate it, and I do hate it. It's going to bring in the corporate era of Web3 and blockchain,
Mhm.
but it is inevitable, so I might as well profit off it.
Exactly.
It's weird. I almost hate Chainlink because it opens up the floodgates for this no longer being like a decentralized grassroots Wild West sort of
Yeah.
uh, digital space we're in.
I hear
But
you,
it's
but
gonna
you
happen.
can't fight. You can't fight the inevitable. Like it's
You can't fight it.
yeah, you might as well accept it. And you're a smart man, so I like that's I kind of giggle, guys. Audience, I just giggle because again, we're cosmonauts through and through. Tim and I are both very active, obviously, in the Cosmos ecosystem. But there's just some things where it's like you just can't deny what it is, and Chainlink is what it is. So
Yeah,
no, but to go back into gosh, I love it because we've kind of just ventured down that rabbit hole so much. To go
I
back
love
to
it.
CBDCs, I absolutely love it. I love it. But go back to CBDCs, I do agree with you. I don't consider them or view them even currently right now, like I said, as really like blockchain. I think they're
You
very
know what it
separate.
is?
What was it?
It's the government using the hype of Web3 and blockchain to push something that the people never would have agreed or allowed otherwise.
Mm-hmm,
They're not using blockchain in the way that we value it for.
mm-hmm.
They are using the hype train to get basically something very awful and big brothery into our daily lives, with people not really noticing because they're like, oh, everybody likes crypto. They're just doing a crypto thing now. Like,
Yeah, yeah. No, I
yeah.
agree. It's definitely Big Brother 100%. It's a Big Brother move 100%. Um, Gosh, I'm trying to think. Let me go back. So we were talking about your how you entered. When was the moment? Asked you about the chains that you're validating. Again, guys, if you guys please do consider delegating. I personally delegate to Spark IBC. I think not only Timmy, but the team that he has and the things that he's working on, which we'll get into in just a little bit, Timmy, are of massive value, especially in our ecosystem and even beyond eventually. So
Oh
I
yeah.
support it. I support it entirely. And Timmy's just a great educator of the space anyway, and the technology far beyond the cosmos. I love using the cosmos as an analogy for everything because it's so fitting. Anyway,
I
let me
know.
let me ask you, as we're speaking about the cosmos though, and no shame, and please, any protocol that does not get spoke about or that does get spoke about, one, don't let it get to your head, and two, we don't mean to offend anybody when we ask these questions. I'm just kind of curious. There can't be, we're not Pokemon trainers, so we can't catch them all. But Timmy, in the cosmos ecosystem, below, what is the four things that you are the most bullish on as far as a protocol? And then after, I do want to follow up with you on four things that are up and coming that you're waiting for in our cosmos ecosystem. In no particular order, go for it.
Okay, first one might be a curveball for most people that
Mm-hmm.
know me and my stance on NFTs. But Stargaze actually,
Mm-hmm.
because I think NFTs as a technology is actually going to be one of the largest sectors of like Web3 and blockchain usage going forward, just not for profile pictures. And so I just think that a chain dedicated to NFTs, an app chain, something that really right now is only found in the cosmos, has the potential to really go crazy. Like one of the pictures I retweeted this morning from Chainlink was something where they're talking about like house NFT data for like deeds and ownerships.
Yes.
And like that's where we're heading with this stuff, like bigger uses like that. And if Stargaze could continue, well, I don't know what the internal consensus is there or the community consensus, but if they can manage to remember that NFTs are much bigger than profile pictures and little art collections and like try and jump on those opportunities of NFTs, other uses as they begin to emerge in the next couple of years, I think Stargaze could be a very, very interesting and important chain.
I agree with you. I think the whole team there, not one particular person, and there, I could point them out, but I think we all know who I'm talking about. But I don't think that they're ignoring the fact of the potential that NFTs are going to evolve into. I think, obviously, as being relatively new, I think a lot of people forget that there are still just, they're doing the right things. They're getting their footings. They're playing the game for what it is. They have been expanding and evolving both in their chain and their platform. Obviously, as a NFT, I don't even know. It's weird to me to even say this sometimes because I still don't think of myself this way. I launched an NFT project. Like, I don't like a creator. I hate that title,
Yeah.
but I launched one, and I'm going to be launching another one here soon, and I'm picking Stargaze. It's just it was a no brainer for me. There's so much potential there, so I agree with Stargaze being one of them. Give me three more.
Okay, so Say and Saga. Say Network and Saga Chain are like, apparently they are legally not allowed to say Saga Network because Carl Sagan came in and tried to sue them for using
Oh,
the word
okay.
Sagan. And then when they were like, okay, can we just call ourselves Saga? The team got back to him, Carl Sagan's team, and was like, yeah, just don't call it Saga Network because then you have the words Sagan in there,
Oh, yeah.
Saga
I was
followed
like,
by an N.
okay.
I
Such
just think that's
legal
one of the
stuff.
funniest stories.
Yeah, I get it though.
But Saga, for anyone curious, is like a chain slash like micro ecosystem that is fully embracing and going straight for the whole like interchain security thing.
Mhm.
So that's been one of the hub's big like selling points for a long time is, hey, eventually we're going to have you secure other chains through the hub with our validator set and computation power. Saga's kind of just like, okay, we're not going to wait for you anymore. We're going to create a chain that's sole purpose is allowing other chains to spin up and take security from it for things like gaming. Gaming is their big focus, but anyone will really be able to use it. I don't want to get too into it because I know I'll just butch it, and at some point, my buddy over at Saga might listen to this and facepalm. But like the way they're tackling things, sort of from the ground up, makes a lot of sense. Is extremely scalable and is also extremely attractive to developers,
Okay.
which I have a big heart for because both of my projects, well, especially Interchain Info, like it's focused on just attracting new people, users and devs alike. Like that's something we need more of a focus on. And Saga is kind of a project designed from the ground up to fill that exact role of like, hey, you need to launch quickly, you need to launch with security, you want your own chain, but you don't want to wait for the hub, you want blah blah blah. Like, let's do it.
Okay. Okay. You got two more quick ones? You don't have to.
Yes, Say Network, which is just like kind of just pushing the bounds of what the Cosmos SDK and Tendermint can do right now with like really fast block times, as well as a sort of shared order book module built in at the chain level that any apps that build on it can like use. I think I really like outside the box thinking. So rather than just spin up another Juno or another Osmosis or whatever, both of these, Say and Saga, are like, let's do something kind of like different from the ground up. And then I think my fourth would maybe be White Whale. Funny enough, I know they don't have a ton of hype. Yeah, for a couple reasons. Actually, not to echo too much. One, because they are fully embracing. They're actually the only project, I think, besides my two, at least that comes to mind right now. I'm sure there are others that are fully embracing what the Cosmos is. They don't have a home chain. Like since the Terra collapse, they've totally embraced the ethos of being cross-chain. And like, I really like that. I think what they're doing is cool anyways. Just some like interesting like strategies, arbitrage opportunities, cross-chain swapping, etc. But more so, I like their team's like vision. And I think that being one of the first projects that has fully embraced the fact that we're a multi-chain ecosystem and actually designing for that and designing around that and being chain agnostic, I think that's going to like put them ahead of the curve as and also just sort of, you have less failure points if you're used everywhere, right? Like you don't have to worry about one chain halting or bad press coming out about one chain or some exploit.
Do you feel like what happened with them in Terra was the biggest eye opener of like, okay,
yeah,
we're never gonna get stuck in that position again? I think so.
I think that definitely probably hit them a bit. Like, okay, yep, let's. We're in the Cosmos. Why are we not taking advantage of this whole multi-chain IBC seamless connection thing?
Yeah, that is. I mean, to be honest with you, IBC is like. Amongst many other things, but I do think it's one of the golden eggs, in what makes the Cosmos ecosystem so beautiful right now. I mean, and it's so funny too when we think about IBC, the IBC protocol. It's relatively still a baby and infant as well. Like it's so amazing because I think so many new people have entered the space and they think that it's like always been this way. It's like, when was it launched again? It's like little over a year. Is it little over a year? Somewhere around there. It's not even been that long.
Yeah, little over a year, I think, at this point. Yeah, but still, one thing, I hope I don't sound like a broken record here, but as a lover and user of the Cosmos, I think most people I've talked to agree, actually, this has been said many times, IBC is our big selling point. Like that is the special thing about the Cosmos. Tendermint, cool. Cosmos SDK, cool. The fact we're using Rust, cool. It's a great language. But IBC is like the thing.
Yep.
And
it's the golden egg, in my opinion.
As I'm sure you've realized, people in the Cosmos, for whatever reason, really aren't that aware or keeping an eye on Chainlink, right? And I worry, I do, that some of the like larger dev institutions that work on stuff like IBC and CosmWasm, whether it's Informal, Ignite, I don't know who works on what at this point, but I worry they're not actually focusing on IBC enough. I think that needs to be the absolute development focus. We get that. We make it so what happened on Binance Chain recently, nothing like that can ever be repeated. Like, obviously, they were using an older version, blah, 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 but then we had the Dragonberry exploit. And, like, I don't think people realize how fucking
serious it was.
Yeah, because Chainlink's making this thing called CCIP, which is the only competitor I've ever heard of or seen to IBC. And knowing Chainlink, when they deliver that, if IBC isn't perfectly buttoned up and mass adopted already, that might be the Cosmos downfall.
Yeah, I can see that. I definitely think your strongest attribute is definitely your weakest. Like it's, the one thing that you should be protecting the
Yeah.
most. So yeah, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you.
Like the whole Dragonberry thing in that Binance channel was just like, oh, like I'm painfully aware of not being a developer. And so there's all these things I trust or like where I'm like, should I actually trust in like IBC as much as I do? Like I can't look at the code and prove that to myself, right? I have to trust smart people that I believe are acting in their best interest, that do work on it, that have looked at it, institutions that have invested and deployed their whole research team to look into it. I have to kind of go off that level of faith. It's weird,
So let me, because I know I said earlier that I wanted to hear the four most bullish and then the upcoming. Let's actually just skip the upcoming ones, right? Because
Okay.
I think that's a really good place to kind of pivot and go into this next part of questions that I have for you. As far as developers, I thought it was really fun. I kind of chuckled to myself when you're like, I don't know who works on what anymore. Because it's anybody that's involved like we are, I get it. Like, I get what you mean by that. Like, it's very hard to keep up on who's where and what's happening with development and who's all got their fingers in it and whatnot.
Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite? And again, please take no offense to anybody that if your name's not mentioned or if your name does get mentioned, I know you can put your little big helmet on or whatever. But who's your again? I'll just go with four. Who's your three most favorite devs, and then who's your excluding Spark IBC, who's your three most favorite validator teams? Starting with devs first. Who's your most three favorite devs in their space?
Devs, Larry.
Okay, good.
Larry Zero X.
Yes.
Joseph Levington, actually. Smaller name. He's helping us with Spark IBC, which is why I can say that because I see his work. But he did most of the Stargaze front end and some of the smart contracting work behind the scenes there. And then, like, honestly, I think I'd go with Jacob for the third. Jacob Gadikian or Gadikian.
You can't say his last name either.
I just don't know which one it is. It's either Gadikian or Gadikian, but yeah, I think those would probably be my three favorite devs. Not all for the same reasons either, but like just those are the ones that definitely came to mind first.
Well, it's really funny that you're saying that though, because they are very different in personalities and the way that they go about themselves as well too. So that's super interesting. I like your list. I really do like your list. With validators, are you going to count Jacob in that third as well, like one and the same, or do you have three others?
For validators, what's the exact question here? Like ones I would recommend people delegate to, or
just
ones
personal,
that I like?
Nah, I'm leaving that out. Just personally, this is all about Timmy. Just personal opinion. Who's your if you gun to your head, somebody would say, who's your top three favorite validators in the space or teams in the space? Some of them have teams.
Okay, so these are not going to be my top three, but they're the three that come to mind first, which says something. Yeah. I'd say Golden Ratio, Pupmos, and see, limiting it at three is hard because now I have like five names I want to say. But to shout out a smaller one, actually,
you can shout out two other ones too if you want to. It doesn't.
I think I'd say Ted Crypto as like a smaller one shout out. They're kind of smaller. They've been so helpful to us behind the scenes. They've helped us stay in the active set on Evmos when stuff got sketchy. They've cool stuff from them. God, it's kind of a beautiful thing that I'm struggling to pick from a massive basket of names. Like there are so many great players out there, really are. I mean, I have some delegated to like NOS nodes on one. Lavender 5 is awesome. Imperator has like teamed up with us for our monthly Cosmos town halls for like the recap portion. Oni Validator does a ton of shit for governance and like Juno stuff. So like there's a ton, and I'm sure I didn't mention a couple names. Whisper's team is awesome.
I love
Whisper node.
I have them on some of my delegations as well. And a little transparency for you guys. Oni Validator, shout outs to the whole entire team. They do sponsor our channel and help us do what we do. So we absolutely love them. We think they're great. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I have to shout out Cleomedes too.
Yes,
Like
they're great.
Cleomedes behind the scenes might be some of my favorite team members. Avicenna and myself chat all the time. We're building some cool stuff together. They're
I was gonna say they've been
designing
helping
some.
you. They've been like a very important player in helping you
Oh yeah.
build the things that you. Let's pivot there. Let's pivot there as well, guys. And again, I'm sure I can speak for Timmy. Anybody that there's so many of you guys, both on the developer side, even the talk. Well, actually, before we pivot, let me because I gotta give. I treat three different our ecosystem in three different categories. Any developers that we missed, you know, there's so many of you that are very important, and we've got to give you guys respect. Any validator teams that we missed, again, same thing. We love you guys all. There's just so many of you guys that are so good. As far as individuals and talking heads, I do want to save a lot of time to go ahead and talk about what you guys are building with Cleo and the likes. But I'd be doing myself a disservice by not asking you this. As far as personalities, talking heads, content creators, whatever you want to call, I know myself or ourselves, who are you out? Because there's so many. I'll give you 5. Who's your top 5? Not including yourself, Timmy, because if you asked me, I'd add you into it. That you like out there. In no particular order, because you're going to miss. There's not enough. I'm only giving you 5, and I'll admit that's not enough for as many people that I would want to say as well. But if you had to pick 5, who's your favorite? And if I'm not on it, I don't care. Don't feel pressured. It's so hard. Gun to
I
your head.
weirdly
Come
want
on.
to say pass. I weirdly want to say pass because most of the
Well, wait,
yeah,
hold
I
on,
don't
hold
know
on,
why
hold on. Actually,
I don't know why I'm struggling with this. I
let
don't.
me rephrase it so it's easier for you. Let me rephrase it so it's easier, because that was such a very. Now that I'm thinking about it, was a
No,
very
that was a
open
fine
one.
question.
Who is the top? Who do you like? If I was to give you 5, give me 5 answers to this. Who do you think provides really good content as far as like a content creator in our space? And it could be some of the obvious, but like
Mm-hmm.
pushing the envelope, pushing the narrative, pushing the tech forward, getting exposure and stuff like that. You know, let's give them credit where credit is due. Who's if you some gun to your head, somebody was to tell you who's the top 5 to look for a YouTube channel or content on Twitter or whatever it is.
Right.
Would you recommend? You're at a
Okay,
conference,
so
somebody's
first ones that
asking you.
come to mind, I'd say Cosmos Spaces, you guys, Cosmic Validator. They do videos on YouTube that are really good,
Mm-hmm.
like overviews of stuff going on. Um, the reason I'm struggling with this question, though, actually, is my first answer would be the white paper. The reason I'm struggling is because I actually don't like promoting educators and influencers like directly, even ones that I like and are friends with,
Mm-hmm.
because I think you should get your information from like a white paper
That
or
is one of the
from.
best answers I could have possibly hoped for right there.
Yeah, and I know that's hard to like. Sometimes you can't even sink your teeth into a white paper. It's just so above you. And like then you do need to turn to someone whose job it is to like break that down and make it digestible and stuff. But like, where does the trust come from? I trust most like talking heads in the cosmos, but it's a question I feel weird answering because I think that while talking heads and educators are crucial in Web3 for adoption, I also don't really like them weirdly. And I know
I
I do
agree with
this.
you because
Yeah,
I'm
I
one
knew
of
you knew
them
what
and
I'd
I
get.
hate
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. Because like I'll post something and like Twitter's an awful medium because we have the
Mhm,
character limit, right?
mhm.
Um,
But
it's
I don't
really
think
hard
actually
to
I don't
like.
think soon. I think didn't I see something from Elon where he was saying like we're gonna do away with that ridiculous stuff? Maybe I
Oh
just
well,
read that.
Twitter will crash and burn if he does that, so I hope not.
I
That
could have been it could have been way too early. I could have swore I saw something earlier this morning. I was like, what is
hate
this?
it or love it, I think the only reason Twitter gained prominence is because of the character restriction limit.
I could see
I
that. I could
actually,
see that.
yeah, but getting off topic, yeah. So
Mhm.
like, um, I mean, I actually even really like. I don't watch that much of it, and I his trolling persona is interesting. But some of the longer form conversations Don Kryptonium has with some guests are also pretty good.
Yeah.
Um,
Shout out to Don. Don
like
Krypton. I love him.
he's
I love him. I'm
the
not
reply videos with the
some
face
people.
filter.
Oh my gosh, he is just on fire. I mean, I don't care. I really honestly, some people have their opinions. I will go out on pub and publicly say that man knows exactly what he's doing and he's a freaking
Yep.
genius.
Yep.
He's on fire.
I can almost confidently say he's not, but I love his energy of like, I don't know. I imagine he's on a little bit of ketamine and some mushrooms every time I see him make it. Like he's just wild.
That's awesome. No, but I respect you. I respect your answer and I agree with it entirely, actually. Like, there's nothing there that I actually disagree with. And I'm a talking head that's Cosmos focused. It's IBC gang. Like, and I absolutely agree with what you just said. So, yeah,
Yeah.
let me go in and
I'll also minor shout out Game of Nodes. They're pretty cool,
oh,
and I think they should get more traction just because
yes.
their
Yes.
conversations are just super interesting. I got invited as a guest on their last episode, and it was super fun. But just in general, they don't get a ton of views, but like really raw, interesting, honest conversation on just a wide variety of topics in a pretty fun like format. Like it's enjoyable to listen to. They
Yeah.
joke around and they're a little
There's a
this and
number
that.
of them. There's like 4 or 5 of them. There's Usurper. You were just on a name. Who's all on
Yep.
there?
So Null
No,
from
yeah.
King Nodes,
Mhm.
Usurper from Rhino, Frey from Needlecast,
Yeah.
and then someone from Lavender was on there when I was. I'm not sure if they're like frequent host or maybe just
I think they're
sometimes, but
just
yeah,
like they just kind of rotate in every once. But there's
yeah,
the 3 of them that are frequent, and I agree with you. I watch them, and I think that they are so undervalued in especially in the Cosmos ecosystem, and yeah, I can't stress that enough. I've been saying that for a long time, and I admittingly I feel bad because now I feel like I haven't said it enough. Please, guys, go check them out. Game of Nodes on YouTube. Their channel should have way more subscribers than mine because they are talking about they get kind of goofy at times and sometimes to be honest with you, but I like it. They kind of like and who am I to say that because I run off the rails all the time and banter, but when they get into the weeds, it's good stuff. And even when they're not in
yeah,
the weeds. So definitely drop them a follow, subscribe to their channel, guys. Let us save some time because I do want to give us some time to talk about what Timmy and Spark IBC and you guys and the team have been working on. Tell us what you guys have been doing, man. What's going on?
yeah. So a few months ago at this point,
Mm-hmm.
we did like launch our first project, which is Spark IBC,
Mm-hmm.
and in a super condensed nutshell, there, we sort of aim for it to become somewhere between a launch pad and like a charity type thing for chain agnostic efforts. I think one of the biggest existing current issues in the cosmos is just that we are this multi-chain ecosystem, but we aren't actually set up for that. Like there are very few, let's say, grant programs for chain agnostic projects. Like if you want
Mm-hmm.
a Juno grant, you better be building on Juno. If you want an
Very
Osmo
tribal.
grant, yeah, which is weird because we all talk about, better together. Like the reason people should care about us is because we have all these other chains connected to us. Like,
Well, it's like you said,
um,
IBC, right? Like IBC is
yeah,
our, and we're not like focused. Yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
yeah. Like I think every chain should have, or every grant program that's out there, whether it's from a foundation or whatever, should have a portion of their funding that is set aside for chain agnostic and cross chain and multi chain things. I think that should be a no brainer. We are in the cosmos. Stop focusing only on your own chain because guess what? You can put all the effort you want into it, but if the rest of the ecosystem isn't there, like something on Ethereum will do better than what you're doing. Our benefit comes from the multi chains, the IBC, the cross compostability, and like soon interchain accounts so you can do smart transactions across different chains. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can see that. I agree. Listen closely, all you people out there. You guys know who you guys are. So okay, so Spark IBC, that was you guys. But now you guys have
Yeah.
something else that you guys are building. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Spark IBC like was aimed to tackle these sort of financing and funding. Actually, both of these projects. So the other
Mm-hmm.
one that we'll talk about is Interchain Info, but both Spark and Interchain Info come from this one core thesis statement of the Cosmos has an inherent problem that comes from its biggest benefit, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So let's just try and tackle that problem. Its biggest benefit is multiple sovereign decentralized chains that work together, right?
Mm-hmm.
That inherently brings fragmentation problems, though. Spark IBC is trying to tackle the funding and finance side of that fragmentation problem. And Interchain Info is trying to tackle the education and user experience side of that fragmentation issue. So I'm sure you've done this too, Tank. Like, I'm sure you've introduced tons of friends and family to crypto, some to Cosmos, and most of the time, unless you are pushing and guiding, their exploration stops at staking Atom in a private wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not going to set up a crypto Twitter account, or I mean, they should, but they probably won't, and spend months lurking just to discover things like Restake or smaller new chains like Territory or Namek or whatever. Like, whereas on Ethereum, you have like one ecosystem page or a lot of like compostability between these apps and like just easy ways to stumble across them. You have things like DeFi Llama or whatever that kind of puts everything in one page. And we're like so many steps back from that because we really are like Cosmos is right now, I think, the most Web3 of all ecosystems. There's a lot of small grassroots projects like mine, small chains that are really truly decentralized and like spun up from nothing. But we forget, like everybody who's going to hear this video, for example, that's listening to me right now, or any of your content you ever do, they're in this bubble, right, with us, where we're like, oh, it's all right here. Like, it's easy to navigate. What are you talking about? No. How is a new user going to discover Restake?
Yeah.
Literally, how are they going to do that? Like, think it through.
Yeah.
If you're not on crypto Twitter, how are you, and lurking for a long period of time, how are you going to discover Hubble tools or White Whale or, the list could go on.
Mm-hmm.
And so Interchain Info has like a couple different sections to the site. One that we're focusing on right now is called the Index, so the Interchain Index. And it's basically a Wikipedia of the Interchain. So there, with really helpful categorization and like tagging and stuff, we will have pages on every chain, every DApp, every validator, every tool, every, et cetera, et cetera. It's a Wikipedia for the Interchain. Like, it really is. It has a much cleaner, beautiful looking interface than Wikipedia. But at its core, it'll be a community maintained, Spark overseen hub of resources and information on everything.
Okay.
With a sort of Google-like feel to it, so that when next time I get a new friend into the Cosmos and I get them to get some Atom into their private wallet, I can just send them to interchaininfo.zone and feel fairly confident that they have all of the tools right there to explore, navigate, and play with the rest of the Cosmos ecosystem.
You know what? I kind of just paused because I actually experienced this, and I'm one of the more active content creators, and I don't know like if that's actually the truth or not, but I feel like I'm pretty active in the Cosmos and know what I'm talking about, and try to onboard new people into our space. And I had this situation where, if you guys don't know, I go to jiu-jitsu just about every day during their work week after my shows. And everybody there knows that I'm like into crypto. Like, they know, because that's what I talk about while I'm rolling. I'm like, have you heard about Cosmos? Choke you out. And like, I'm just doing all these arm bars. I'm like, IBC, choke you out.
I'll let you win this one if you pick up some Osmo
today. You should go check out this Twitter handle. But so like, so I was talking to a really good friend of mine, who is a pretty savvy financial guy. He's actually a financial advisor in the regular world and whatnot. And so he's pretty savvy about things. I mean, I was telling about, Cosmos and, why I'm interested in interoperability and blah, 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 blah. We're in the bubble. Everybody already knows why we love Cosmos. But, eventually he did actually go out there amongst weeks and weeks and weeks of me kind of, I don't want to say grooming him, because I wasn't like, trying, like pushing him, but eventually it made sense to him. He was like, he came into class one day and he goes, "Hey, Tank, I bought a whole bunch of Atom." I go, "Oh, great. So did you stake it off chain? Like, did you take it, do you go Kepler, like I was saying, and he was like, "No, I staked it with, I forget whatever centralized exchange it was. Like, I just staked it for 5%. And like
Jimmy the Otter.
Yeah. Don't let me go on it. But in his mind, 5% in the regular world, even as a financial advisor, it's like, it's mind blowing, right? They're like, 5%, Tank, what are you talking about? Like, I'm a winner. And I'm like, yeah, you're winning. That's great. You made a great decision. But there's so many different, and even me bombarding them week after week, telling them, you check out IBC gang, check out Spark IBC. I've told them, check out these YouTube channels, check out these Twitter handles, check out Kepler, check out blah, 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 that we already know. And, I've even kind of approached it in a financial way where it's like, bro, you're getting 5%. What if I told you could get a double digit, on your staking because you're self custodying and all this other stuff. It still didn't happen, even
Yep.
though I was throwing the information out there, because there's no one spot that I could say,
Yeah.
hey, go check out this page and it'll tell you everything. It's all right there. Like,
Yep.
you
And
can
it's
figure it
not
out.
just a one page like getting started guide. It's something you can continue to use as you get more in advanced and you want to explore more and more things. It has everything from the basic shit to the more like niche stuff.
Well, it's going to be ever evolving too, right? Because okay,
Yep. Yep.
Timmy sent out for IBC gang and the NFT project that I had. I felt that I'm so intimidated, by the way, too, because I hate talking about myself. I love talking, but I hate talking about myself. So I'm over there typing in the information. The first thing when I submitted it to you, I remember I said I can edit this after the fact, right? But
Yep.
but it's the way I envision your project, and when you first told it to me, it was like it's always going to be ever evolving, because as the Cosmos ecosystem expands, these, you'll put it out there and you'll offer them the chance to put their information in there. But correct, I did have a question. If we'll say like something pops up, right, XYB project, and it's of relevance, it's significant, you actually send them the link that you sent me for them to fill out. What if they never fill it out? And because they're not tricking, they're sticking to the true ethos of like decentralized, or maybe like they just not docs, or they just want to remain anonymous. Is there somebody else that could come in later and maybe start adding to it, like Wikipedia, and have it verified? Like, how is that structure going to work for you guys?
Yeah, so that's one reason we do keep using the Wikipedia like analogy, because right now we are like the forums you're talking about is just a Google form,
Mm-hmm.
but once the site is live, you'll be able to submit new pages and changes to existing ones natively on the site. And so the only like major difference from Wikipedia is that we will have to approve new pages and changes at Spark IBC. At least that's the current model.
So there's going to be like what's the term we're looking for? Like a curator on hand.
Yeah,
That
but I want to be super clear. This is not a curator as far as a vetting process.
mm-hmm.
Like we we really are aiming to be like the Wikipedia of the interchain. So, it's inevitable we'll probably have pages on some things that end up being scams or rug pulls.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're going to try and do our due diligence, if there are obvious red flags, that's why or just false information submitted. That's why we are taking the review role. We're not just letting stuff get updated automatically. But as far as like your core question there of like, what if they don't want to fill it out or whatever, kind of a twofold answer there. One, we hope to really launch with such a bang and get enough adoption that is their loss, and they will come to us after and be like, okay, maybe we should fill out our page.
Right.
Or that just like Wikipedia, their passionate user base comes and does it for them.
Okay.
And as new updates happen, someone will come, whether it's a team member or a passionate user, and submit a change to the page with the new information about the update, or however the project evolves, that sort of thing.
I don't think having a curator though, isn't it? I know there's, especially, I don't want to get into the weeds about all of that. Over the past 2 years that we've, as a society, as a world that we've dealt with, as far as people kind of like telling us what's verified and what's the truth and what's not. It just, it kind of like you said though, it is what it is, and there, I think for the way that it's set up, I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing to have a curator on staff that will be able to, I guess just verify the information that's being submitted in a way.
Yeah.
Eventually, you do want to kind of like get away from that and it be what it is, but I don't think that's necessarily bad, and I can see that. I do want to ask, and it's so fitting, and I love both projects, both Spark IBC and what you're working on right now. But have you been able to find support as far as funding goes? Because obviously, if you have a curator and you guys, I imagine, are like just. I can only imagine like the amount of work that you're doing and the compiling that you're doing and whatnot. Like, everybody needs to get paid. It's not, time is money and whatnot. Have you guys been able to find support in that way, or are you guys planning on doing a Spark IBC campaign that I hope because I see it being so beneficial, that I would think and hope that the rest of the Cosmos ecosystem would, like you said, put aside a little bit of funding for chain agnostic projects such as what you have going on. Have you found any kind of pushback, or have you found any kind of support or projects that want to push forward with you? Because I would like to do whatever I possibly can to push that forward for you guys, because I think it's so valuable as a whole for our ecosystem.
So at this moment, a kind of a two-part answer there. So one, yes, actually, we are doing a Spark IBC campaign for interchain info here soon.
Okay.
Here's our rough 2-second game plan for that. So we have the capability in-house, the development capability, to build out the index, which is like the Wikipedia portion of the site, as well as the resources hub, which I haven't even touched on, but basically it's a aggregator of content from YouTube, Twitch, Twitter threads, Medium, audio platforms, like community created stuff, user generated content. We have the capability in-house and are currently just eating costs to get that built. Once that is built, which is very soon here, we're nearing the end, we're going to go into like sort of an open beta phase while we continue to source content for the pages and just let people like see everything we've built with those two sections. I'm a big believer in like show, don't tell, and definitely build before you ask for more money, that sort of thing. So once those two sections are live, we have a beta going, we have people knowing what we're doing. We're then going to launch a Spark campaign to raise money for two things. One, ongoing costs, like server hosting, the search engine we use. If we ever really gain popularity, we have to pay for like the actual queries used on our platform.
Right.
But also mainly a big chunk of the funding would go towards the third section of our site, which is the dashboard. The dashboard, I haven't touched on it yet, is way more Web3 oriented as far as the actual under the hood coding. So we don't have the in-house tech and talent to do it right now. So that's why we do need some funding to hire on some devs. But the dashboard is basically going to be like the last piece of this puzzle. So with Spark, you'll be able to get funding for chain agnostic things, and like with the index and the resources section, you'll be able to learn about all of the many things in the interchain in this chain agnostic world. And then with the dashboard, you'll be able to interact with and do stuff with all these different chains and protocols all in one place. So the dashboard will let you add modules for, say, Rango Exchange or Hubble Tools or Restake, or all these things that you might already open 5-10 different tabs every day to like go to and manage and interact with, but also B, to help new users find those tools in the first place. So that's what we're going to be raising a big chunk of money for. Then as
I was gonna say, can I give you a suggestion? I don't mean to cut you off.
Totally.
Just because I'll lose my train of thought because I'm old and a boomer.
Go for it.
With your guys' camp, because I know for your previous campaigns with Spark IBC, there was a window or I guess kind of like a countdown as to how long the campaigns actually are left open. I hope that you guys leave that campaign for what you guys are working on open indefinitely, because I would just personally, this is just me, guys, and I promise you, Timmy and I have not talked about this beforehand, but I would encourage people who have staked their assets throughout the Cosmos to consider taking a portion. I don't even know. Again, Timmy, you're going to have to probably fill this in later, but because I don't know what you guys accept right now. But if you guys, have like Juno or something staked, consider, I like to recompound or like take profits. I'm not telling you guys what to do with your guys' rewards. You do you, different strokes, different folks. But maybe consider also supporting a project like this by taking a sliver of your rewards. I don't know if you do it daily, weekly, monthly, whatever it is, and depositing it into the campaign so that, chain agnostic movements like this, which are going to be beneficial for the entire harbor, the entire Cosmos ecosystem, because the rising tide raises all ships in our harbor. I would encourage you guys out there in the Cosmos ecosystem to do that. I mean, it might not seem like a lot, even if you don't have a big stake. I mean, maybe it's just fractions of a Juno or fractions of whatever asset that you have. But the compounding power of the entire Cosmos ecosystem is very, very massive when you put it all when you put it all together. that can snowball into something very, very major and be very, very effective. So I guess I just want to plead to everybody. I know I will be doing it when you have your campaign open. I will be taking a sliver of it. And, you know, if it's open, for how long it's open, putting it in there passively, just, you know, supporting that effort. Because I think, again, if we're really trying to be supportive, and we believe in the Cosmos ecosystem or the assets, you know, if you're tribal, whatever, if you believe in your little neck of the woods or neighborhood in our ecosystem for whatever reason, still take, you know, if you have Secret that's coming in, Juno that's coming in, Evmos that's coming in, if you guys are accepting that right now, I don't know if you guys are, Timmy, I encourage you guys, you know, forego delay gratification, because when you support things like that, the gratification that you'll get in the long run will way outweigh the small slivers of support that you're putting together. And that small slivers, guys, will compound together. It really will.
Yeah. I guess a couple notes on that. One, like, I guess a tiny bit of a seed of alpha, which you're actually already in the know about, Tank. So when you donate to Spark IBC, you get a token minted into your wallet. Actually, I can answer a bunch of your questions in one here. So right now, and probably forever, we will only accept US denominated stable coins.
Okay.
Right
so
now,
like
it's just right now it's just Axelar USDC, but we could be open to adding like UST, BUSD, whatever might come around. The reason for that is for every one USD denominated coin donated, you get 1 Spark point minted into your wallet. These are non-transferable tokens. You cannot get them on the open market. You can only get them through donation, and they'll never leave your wallet. Right now, they just give you a spot on the leaderboard and like the ability to show off your name and how much you've given to the ecosystem. But we do actually have some cool stuff being built on Interchain Info and elsewhere that might have some like bonus premium quality of life features gated behind having Spark points. Okay. So A, you are making a donation that will help your investments by rising the tide of the whole cosmos. And B, you will get some cool stuff out of it eventually. It'll be nothing that'll give you a monetary benefit. This is not an investment vehicle. It'll just be like cool tools and premium quality of life features on the stuff we're building. So a little bit of an extra
incentive. I see it differently than you, though. I actually do think, like, I'm a long-term thinker. That's why I actually do think that, you know, not financial advice. Again, guys, it's just the way that I think about things. Financially, my bags will see a gain by supporting this, because again, the rising tide, if the user experience, if it all transfers into the next thing, right? If you're supporting your guys' effort by donating, and then we get to have these you know, like you said, these little things that just make it a lot more pleasurable to use, and you know, it's supporting you guys build further. That means, like we're saying, the whole reason why we're doing this, right, is to make it easier to onboard new people into our space and give them a place so that they can have a roadmap or a guide or some kind of reference to go through. And like, if more people are using it, that means my number in my bag is going to go up eventually. So
the number one way that you will make money in crypto with investments is new capital coming in. It's not airdrops. It's not staking. Just straight up mathematically, it's when new TVL flows in. And so, like, if you donate and help us knock Interchain Info out of the park, you are absolutely like helping your bags.
You're reinvesting into yourself.
I've joked about this before. Tank, you might have even been there. Someone was like, so Timmy, like, what are you getting out of all this? Because like, you don't have a token or a payment system. Like, is this just a totally selfless act from Timmy? And partly, but I joked. I was like, no, this is totally selfish. I want my investments to go up. And this is truly, I believe, the best way to make Cosmos blow up.
Yeah. And there's a fine line, guys. There's a fine line, because we are going to put this on YouTube. No, guys, you know, it's really funny. Shout out to BitBoy. He made a video earlier today.
Shout out.
I'm being very serious. Being very, very serious.
Okay.
Shout out to BitBoy earlier today. You guys may or may not have seen this. He put out everybody's going to have their opinions about this. Look, guys, I'm just going to reference something. He put out a video earlier today where he was talking about shilling tokens in our ecosystem, or like shillers, or like people that are pumping projects or whatever it is so that they see their return or whatever it is. There was like, look, granted, look, we all know, and he even admitted to it in his video earlier today that he did it in the past, right? And he was the premise of it was if he would have known what he knows now and would have known that the effects of those kind of actions would have brought us to where we are now,
Huh.
he wouldn't have done it and stuff like that. So like, shout outs to him, and that's what I mean by that. Good for you. I don't know how other people feel, but like, it's whatever. There is a fine line between providing content or providing resources for you to do your own homework and
Yes.
digest versus shilling. And when I want to make it very clear, because as you say that, I don't want anybody to ever confuse what you're saying, Timmy, as being selfish or like or whatnot to see a return on you're providing a resource for people to gather information, and it's upon them to digest that information however they feel fit in their own position of their portfolio. And guys, like there's a fine line, so don't mistake what Timmy just said. Please don't.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Um, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's actually very interesting on the BitBoy thing. Good
Yeah,
for him.
yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, so I truly, I really, 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 truly believe that the core issue right now is to the average person who's not already involved with crypto. It is already kind of sketchy. Some friend of a friend I was talking to the other day who didn't know I was into crypto. Crypto came up, and he was like, "Well, it's all dead now. Should have got into it before." And I was like, "This is when you should be buying."
Mm-hmm.
And he just hit me with some like, yeah, and get like scammed like all the other things I see on news or
Yeah.
whatever. And you cannot blame those people.
No.
But what that creates is a general subconscious hesitation to exploring anything in Web3. And one of the most efficient ways to remove that hesitation is to provide someone with something that looks polished and blue chip and like it has its shit together.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the Cosmos does not look like that from any angle. To
Yeah.
an outsider, the Cosmos is the Wild Westest of crypto and not even close to something I'm going to attempt
Brother,
to learn
we're
how to
in the
navigate.
cosmos and it still looks like the wild
Yeah,
west of crypto.
exactly. So yeah, so we need just like something that makes it look like we are a unified front that is organized. We have easy ways for people to learn and explore, and like that will open up the floodgates to mass adoption.
I agree with
And
you.
as far as your question on like funding and grants, so we have a long list of like grants we're going to apply for, and one of the people that do see the value in exactly what I just said, that we've talked to recently that is interested in funding us, is the Interchain Foundation. So that's
Ooh,
huge.
nice.
That's like that was amazing. Their funding rounds will open up next year, so we'll continue those talks then. They're done with grants for the next couple months. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, what we're going to try and do with this next Spark campaign. Oh, yeah, you had a couple questions I'll answer. So
I'm sorry, I wrapped them all together. I'm sorry.
no, but they actually all were super related, so it works. So our last campaign, for example, TerraSpaces, the campaign for his fundraising on chain is not actually shut down. It's
Oh,
just on
okay.
our
I
website.
didn't know that.
What we are building right now, and by right now I mean like we actually should have it in like 1 or 2 days. I actually was just looking at it earlier.
Mhm.
Is a module he can put on his website that let people continue to donate to him but earn Spark points for it. It'll go through
Oh,
his
cool.
campaign fund.
Cool.
So when we launch this campaign coming up for Interchain Info, this one's going to run for like a whole month. It's going to be open for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And during that month, we're going to be like talking to and applying for grants that we actually hope will come in as part of the campaign. So like we're going to add a third leaderboard tab. Right now there's private wallets, validators, and we're going to add organizations.
Okay.
So if one of these big boys gives us a grant, we can shout them out for it. We can put them on the leaderboard, say, the Interchain Foundation believed in this mission, contributed X amount, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, we are definitely looking at bigger picture funding. We're not just hoping the community is going to come together for this. But as far as there was one other part of your and then that campaign for Spark, even when that month is up, the campaign on chain will still be running and we'll have a donation module on the Interchain Info site. So whenever you're using it, if you like the product that you're playing with and you want to donate us a little for upkeep, it'll go through our Spark platform. You'll get Spark points for it, and that'll be like live in perpetuity, I guess. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Well, but we've been going for about an hour and 20-ish minutes, give or take. It's been a blast. I could go on for probably much, much longer. But for the sake of the viewers, I think we should call it here. Maybe we'll do a part two, especially once some of your projects and some of the things that you're working on, launch finally, and we see where we're at. But yeah, I've really enjoyed your time. Thank you so much to me. I've been dying to get you on here to talk about everything, man.
This has been awesome. I love this format, like very just open-ended sort of chat. We'll have to do another video like this, more focused around the time we launch our beta.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
yeah, but this has been awesome.
Definitely. Any closing thoughts for the viewers?
God, so many. I guess mainly just everything you do in the Web3 world, try and take a step back and look at it, whether it's investing in a project, joining a team, making a tweet, forming your own personal internal opinion on something. Just try and take one step back, think outside of the bubble that we are all in, and just second guess yourself. I think that has helped me more than any other tip in navigating Web3 is I don't feel confident in anything I think I know. To a healthy extent, I'm always ready to say oh shit, I'm wrong. I've learned something new. I'm always ready to type out a tweet and then be wait a minute, is this my Cosmos bubble brain speaking? Would I actually think this is true in a vacuum outside of everything? Would I actually make this investment? Whatever. So take an extra couple minutes with every major sort of decision you make in Web3. Try and recognize your bias and just think through everything. And you'll actually find, personally, it removed a ton of stress in just the whole Web3 and crypto world. I used to be a very careless, basically a gambler with the way I traded. I would use 100x leverage on BitMax to trade. It was a horrible cycle.
Don't do that. Don't do that, folks.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. But yeah, so just sort of accepting that not only do you not know anything, but most people in the ecosystem don't, because this is all so new. And that doesn't mean they're wrong or fudding or misleading you. It just means remain skeptical, because we are all navigating a new space here.
Awesome.
That'd be my ending thought.
Great words of wisdom there, guys. If you have made it through all of this, first off, thank you guys. But consider subscribing, hitting that thumbs up. We really do appreciate you guys. Timmy, we'll see you on the next one, buddy. Have a good one.
It's been awesome, Tank. Thanks so much.